Hello, this is a bonus episode from my last episode called From Lust to Extreme Violence in Just 3 Weeks. On it, I'm going to break down the different tactics used by the abuser in this whirlwind relationship to gain power and control over our brave guest. I will also explain the cycle of abuse and how it plays a part in this episode. Welcome to The Secrets in the Powder Room, where we share stories and open up conversations about all the secrets women are forced to keep out of fear and shame. I'm Louise Bryant, professional certified coach, intuitive eating counsellor and trauma-informed domestic abuse specialist and survivor. I'm here to support you on your healing journey and help you feel like you're not alone. This is not to be a replacement of your own professional, medical and or legal advice. This podcast contains adult language and content. Listener discretion is advised. Our guest from episode 13, From Lust to Extreme Violence in Just 3 Weeks, mentioned how she met someone in a club and had moved in with him just after 2 weeks. She described it was a whirlwind romance, and although she was willing and really enjoyed being in that moment, we have to realise that when something moves that fast, it can be an early red flag that someone could be potentially trying to love bomb you. Love bombing refers to the manipulative tactics used by an abuser in domestically abusive relationships. It involves showering the victim with excessive affection, attention and gifts in order to establish an intense and overwhelming sense of love and adoration. This tactic is generally used to gain control and exploit the victim's vulnerabilities. The abuser may use love bombing to create a false sense of security and dependency, making it harder for the victim to leave the abusive relationship. So there was some isolation after that. The survivor in the episode mentioned how her partner would constantly check her phone and messages from her family. And when she tried to go and see her mum, he locked her in the house. Abusive partners often isolate their victims from friends, family and support networks to maintain control and power over them. So not only did he lock her in the house, but then he started to drug her. So this is a major issue, obviously, and it's important to shed the light on it. So drugging someone without their consent is very, very, very dangerous, and it's a very dangerous form of abuse and a violation of their autonomy and consent. It can have numerous dangerous consequences for the victim, including impaired judgment, loss of control, memory loss, and not to mention the physical harm and potential death. It's a severe breach of trust and a criminal act that can cause lasting emotional and psychological trauma. It's important to have open conversations about consent, boundaries, and the importance of respecting others' agency. Our guest then went on to talk about how the abuser had gaslit her or gaslighted her while out in a club. So where does the term gaslighting come from? Gaslighting is a term that comes from the 1938 play Gaslight by Patrick Hamilton. The play was then later adapted into a film called Gaslight in 1944. So in this story, the husband manipulates his wife by subtly and systematically making her doubt her own perceptions and sanity. The term gaslighting has since been used to describe similar psychological and manipulation tactics where someone intentionally causes another person to question their reality and sanity. So in the latest episode, the survivor shares how her partner accused her of dancing provocatively with someone else, causing her to doubt herself and believe that she'd done it. In cases like this, it's essential to trust your own instinct and seek support from trusted friends or professionals or anyone that can help validate your experiences. And then there was emotional abuse. So emotional abuse involves verbal attacks, insults, humiliation and controlling a behaviour aimed at belittling and manipulating the victim. In the last episode, the survivor recounts how her partner screamed derogatory names at her and used persistent questioning to make her doubt herself. Remember that you deserve to be treated with respect and kindness. And then obviously there was physical violence. Physical violence is a severe form of abuse that includes hitting, slapping, punching, strangling or any physical assault. The survivor describes incidents where she was physically assaulted, thrown over and even, unfortunately, raped by her abusive partner. If you are experiencing physical violence, it's crucial to prioritise your safety and seek immediate help. So in the story, the perpetrator then went on to apologise, saying that he'd get help and he'd never do it again. It's important to note that abusers often employ manipulative tactics as a means of maintaining control over their victims. One tactic that the perpetrator used was to apologise and promise he'd seek help. So this behaviour is often referred to as the honeymoon phase in the cycle of abuse. During this phase, the abuser may express remorse for their actions and promise to change. This can create feelings of hope in the victim and make them believe that the abuser will stop. However, it's crucial to understand that apologies and promises of change are often empty and manipulative. Abusers may use this tactic in a way to keep their victims trapped in the relationship and prevent them from seeking help or leaving. So it's not uncommon for the cycle of abuse to continue with periods of violence or emotional abuse or coercive control, followed by apologies, promises, and promises to change. So it's important to emphasise that change is extremely rare in these cases of domestic abuse, and the safety of the survivor should always be the top priority. Victims should not be pressured into giving the abuser another chance or waiting for them to seek help. In the last episode, we also discussed the experiences and challenges faced by our guest. So while the episode touched on various forms of abuse, the guest also opened up about her experience of sexual violence, including rape by her abusive partner. Rape is a serious crime and refers to any non-consensual sexual act or penetration. Consent is a crucial aspect of any sexual encounter, and it's important to remember that consent must be freely given by all parties involved and can be withdrawn at any time. Rape is a violation of personal body autonomy and their right to say no. It's a traumatic experience that can leave long-lasting effects on the survivor's mental, emotional and physical well-being. And it's essential to support survivors and create society where consent is understood, respected and upheld. It's important to note that rape can occur within any type of relationship, including intimate partnerships. And this can be a really hard realisation to come to terms with. No means no at the end of the day. But a lot of the time in an intimate relationship where one of the partners is abusive, we can often give in to sexual demands out of fear, exhaustion, or many other reasons, but it's still not okay. So what is the cycle of abuse? In this last episode, we focused on the survivor's personal experience of abuse rather than discussing the cycle of abuse in detail. However, it's important to acknowledge that the cycle of abuse typically involves a pattern of tension building, an explosion of abusive behaviour, then a period of remorse or reconciliation, and then a period of calm before the cycle repeats. This pattern can make it really difficult for the survivor to leave the abusive relationship. So let's talk about the cycle of abuse and how it fits into these circumstances. The cycle consists of 4 stages: tension building, then the incident, reconciliation, and then calm. And then it just repeats over. And this can repeat in one big circle that takes over a long period of time. And it can have many small versions of this going on within that circle. So in this episode, the speaker's story reflects the tension building stage, where small conflicts and arguments occur, leading to an increase in tension and anxiety. This is followed by the incident stage, where the abuse escalates, and the speaker experiences physical and verbal abuse from her partner. After the incident, the speaker's ex-partner engages in the reconciliation stage, where he apologises, promises to change, and shows remorse. This stage often involves promising a better future, and it keeps the victim in the relationship. In the episode, the ex-partner agrees to change and seek help to manipulate the speaker into staying. So lastly, the calm stage follows, where the relationship appears peaceful and stable. However, this stage doesn't last, and the cycle repeats as tension starts building again. Recognising the cycle of abuse is really important for understanding the pattern and dynamics within an abusive relationship. It helps survivors and those supporting them to identify warning signs and take steps to break free from the cycle for their safety and well-being. The cycle of abuse was originally developed in 1979 by an American psychologist called Lenore E. Walker, and she developed this theory to explain the patterns of behaviour in abusive relationships. She did this by interviewing 1,500 women who had experienced domestic abuse and identified the patterns, which she called the cycle of abuse. Over time, the length of the cycle of abuse usually becomes much stronger, and the violence or abuse becomes more serious. So even though Walker's cycle is still used today, and although it's still recognised as a way to describe the experience of abuse, there are more layers and aspects that can happen in the cycle, and I teach this in more detail on my courses and coaching programs. So I hope you found this podcast useful in understanding domestic abuse a little bit more and the cycle of abuse and how it all played a role within the last episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of Secrets in the Powder Room. And if you've been affected by domestic abuse, please seek support from helplines or professionals who specialise in domestic abuse to help navigate these challenges. And if you're out of an abusive relationship and would like some support from myself or my team, please email me or message me on Instagram at Secrets in the Powder Room. Don't forget to leave a review and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.